Blackpool Pleasure Beach has brought back Paper Ride, but not quite how you might remember it. For some people, this is going to be a game changer, and for others, well, this might be a little bit worse. So I decided to buy a ticket and test it out. Let's get a few things out of the way. This is not free entry, right? That left the building in 2009, and I don't see it ever coming back. Lots of reasons for that. We'll cover them later on. But this does get you into the park and allow you to upgrade some rides if you choose to do so once you're there. Right, so let's recap how this used to work then, because prior to 2009, you could walk into the park for free. You would buy some tickets and you would ride what you chose. They did, of course, have the wristband at that point as well. I can't find exact pricing on what the tickets were. I've seen some anecdotal evidence, people saying Valhalla was around about £4 when it opened in 2000, which with inflation would make it around £8 now, and we'll get to the prices later on in the video, which, when you look at it, the £30 that we have now for online actually seems really good value because you get unlimited riding. Now, the one catch with the free entry that people want to come back is, I think a lot of people have got rose-tinted glasses of what it was like in the 90s and 2000s. If you look at the footage, and I was there, I was a little kid, granted, but I was there, it wasn't this utopia that everyone makes it out to be. Yes, the park was busy. Yes, you could go in, take in the atmosphere, buy a drink, buy a bit of merch, whatever, go on a ride. But there was a lot of trouble, right? There was a lot of trouble in the park, and they had a ridiculous amount of security to try and keep on top of that. And when they brought in the gated entry in 2009, well, that problem went away. So those who are harking back to the days of free entry, it's been nearly 20 years now. It's never going to happen, and there's good reasons for it. So, sorry to disappoint you. That's not what this solves, but it does allow people in if they just want to go on a couple of rides. So what does it include then? I mean, for those of you that don't know, last year they brought in the non-rider pass and it was £20, which a lot of us thought was more than we expected. 10, maybe 15 at a push, but £20 seemed a little bit steep for not very much. They've dropped it a little bit this year down to £18 with this flex pass, and for that you do get entry into the park, obviously. You get access to anything that doesn't require a ticket, so that means you can do Pleasure Beach Express, you can do the Chinese puzzle maze, you can obviously go into all the kind of merch shops and food, etc., and take in the atmosphere. But I guess the key thing here is that with this, you can now also optionally purchase rides on top of that ticket. So I'm going to show you how this works because I decided to try it. Now, I'm up in Edinburgh, so I'm not actually in the park, but you can do it through the app. So I've kind of went through it to get a feel for how this works, get some prices, although it's worth caveating, they have said prices will vary on different days. So this is a Tuesday, midweek, quiet. Possibly prices could be a little bit higher at the weekend or on a peak day. But effectively what happens is you buy the ticket, £18, which I did, and then you register it in the app. Now, it will show in the app in the e-ticket section. If you go into e-tickets, you'll see 3 tabs along the bottom. Now, I'm on iPhone. I assume Android is the same, maybe some subtle differences here. You've got your normal e-ticket, which just in this case gets you in the park and nothing else. Normally, that's where your unlimited ticket would sit. There's a groups tab. Now, if you don't know this, if you are visiting as a group, you can create a single ticket for all of you so that if 4 of you are going on the ride, you just scan one ticket and all 4 of you get on. That's a handy thing to know. And then there's this new Flex Pass at the far side. And when you click on that, you will see a section of rides available, rides you've used, and then booking a new ride. So if you go into book a ride, then the first thing it's going to ask you is, who is the ride for? Now, obviously I picked myself. And then you move on to ride selection. Now, this is where the prices are kind of a little bit confusing, to be honest, because the cheapest rides I've found are Nickelodeon Land at £5. The most expensive ones are the big one and Icon up at 12. And then there's quite a variety of prices in the middle. So I guess those of you that do remember the old ticket system, there used to be like A, B, C, D, etc. I don't know if they've kind of done that. I'll try and bracket the prices together and put them on screen. Like, there are a few rides at the same price point, but there are multiple price points. And as I say, this is not set in stone, so just because this is the prices I see today doesn't necessarily mean it's the prices you would see on your visit. But you purchase the ride that you want, and then you get a QR code in the same way that you do with the normal ticket. So you go up to the attraction, you scan that ticket, and then you get on the ride, right? It's as simple as that. Single use, job done. Right, I thought I'd look at a couple of examples on this one because there's some scenarios where this may be advantageous, and there's others where kind of doesn't make a huge amount of sense. So if you look at it from the Nickelodeon point of view, you can purchase a Nickelodeon ticket, unlimited riding in Nickelodeon, for £25. Now, bear in mind that this ticket without a ride is £18. That only leaves you £7 for rides. And right now, when I look at it, the cheapest rides are £5. So as soon as you go on 2 rides in Nickelodeon, you've already spent more than you would have just purchasing that Nickelodeon ticket. So there's one example where I don't think this makes a huge amount of sense. Let's say you went on the big one, an Icon. Well, that's £12 each, so there's 24 quid plus your 18, that gives you 42 quid. Cheaper than purchasing the kind of on the door price of 60, yes, but obviously more expensive than purchasing a ticket in advance for the 30 quid. And if you're somebody that just wants to go on the smaller attractions, so let's just say you went on Alice, that's a tenner. Derby, that's 8 quid. Wallace and Gromit, another tenner. Ghost Train, a tenner. Just for those 4 rides alone, with entry, is 56 quid. So you're already starting to creep up to what the ticket price is just walking up to the gate. So Blackpool hasn't really brought back paper ride in a way. It's kind of done something a little bit new, and depending on how you visit, this may be for you, or it might end up being a bad idea. So if you look at the examples there, I think it's safe to say this isn't for the majority of people, right? I think typically people fall into 3 buckets. You've got those who just want to go in the park, right? And for a lot of them, I suspect 18 quid feels a little bit steep to get in and do not very much. But the option exists. You have people like myself who want to just do as much as we can, queue dependent, and that's where the unlimited riding comes in, right? The ticket that they already have today, which please never buy that at the door, it's far too expensive, buy it in advance. The place where I think this does come in is if you are somebody, so let's just say you've got a group, a family group. The classic example is, mum and dad going in with the kids and granny's with them, right? Granny's not going to ride on very much, if anything. So that's where the argument of paying full price made no sense. And then that's where people wanted non-riders. So let's just say you're in that group, granny's come in, she's paid 18 quid. She's not planning on, she just wants to see her grandkids. Happy days. She might have a coffee, a little bite to eat, but that's basically it. And then when she gets there, she thinks, do you know what? I'm going to take my grandchild on Alice. Well, then she can pay that tenner and do Alice. I think that's the scenario where this works quite well, where somebody has no intention of doing any attractions, but then decides, do you know what? I'll do this one ride. I think the single ride scenario, this works. As soon as you're starting to go up to 2, 3, 4, 5 rides, you'd have been as well just buying the single ticket unlimited riding in the first place. What I haven't found on this, and I'll maybe reach out to the park and see if I can get some clarification, is there a limit? For example, if you think of this here in Edinburgh and in London, if you use the transport system, you tap when you get on and off the rides. The bus, not the rides, and you're capped, right? If you use the bus too many times, there's an upper limit for the day. They've not said anything about this, so, could you spend more than the £60 for a ticket, or does it get to the stage where it's like, hey, you spent 60 quid on rides, now you've just got unlimited because you've already paid it? I think that would be better. I mean, it's still 60 quid, and I don't think anyone should be paying that, but that isn't mentioned, so I don't know if they've thought that one through. As I say, I'll reach out to them. Probably won't get a response before this video goes out, though. But yeah, I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. If you are somebody who thinks they might use this, if you think this is actually good value. As I've said many times before, a lot of people complain at the normal price for Blackpool, and honestly, I think it's good value. When you compare it to other things, it is good value. Prices have gone up. A lot of people have still got memories of the 90s, maybe even the 80s, 2000s. Compare your shopping to the 90s and the 2000s to what it is now. Prices have gone up, right? So I think we need to adjust for a lot of things. But anyway, I'd love to know your thoughts on this one. This is quite a big change for Blackpool, and I'm curious how it works for them. But as always, if you've enjoyed this one, make sure you hit that like button. And I'm so close to 15,000 subscribers. So if you've seen a few videos, hit subscribe as well. I've been Chris, you've been watching Coaster Dad, and I'll see you in the next one. Adios.